Welcome to the New York Outlook for Friday, the 19th of January 2024. As usual, we'll start off with the economic calendar. What you can see is that we had GBP retail sales. It's read for the news event that was negative for the GBPUSD, suggesting that we should short in the London session. In the New York session, we have read for the news events, that is UOM consumer sentiment, and depending on the news release, it will either strengthen our bias for shorts or suggest that we should consider longs. Given that from the London outlook there was reasons to trade both directions, given that there was reasons to trade both directions, um, the red folder news release is what's ultimately governing our bias for today. So perhaps to start off with the 4-hour, what we can see is aligned with the news release. We had the push deeper into the 4H OB. Once this 4H candle closed, we actually validated the substructure, and now we have something to target. So any long trades are valid from this point onwards. There's a couple of aspects to touch on from a 15 minutes. So coming into Frankfurt, we had this primary leg validated, and I was happy to consider a short from this POI because it incorporated a 38% level. However, we didn't actually get that, and because we are in a validated 4H OB, we could actually we had to actually consider any barriers in terms of secondary legs invalidating the primary leg. We did get the secondary leg which was validated by this supply chock. However, longs were invalid at the time because the substructure was not yet validated. I'm referring to this 4H substructure because at the time this 4H candle didn't close below this one, so we still were waiting for a substructure validation. Like I said, we are in uncertain scenarios, so we need three elements to trade in either direction. We need 4H backing, we need substructure target, and we need IRL available on that time frame that we are trading. So having said all of that, my requirements for longs are not met at this point in time, and then in order for me to short, I actually need a secondary leg to be built off one of these primary leg OBs. As you can see, there is a primary leg right here. However, validating it means that it doesn't align with our fibs. Even though we have a new secondary leg, we can't ignore the fact that it's within the current day high and low, and thus our fib will remain anchored to the current day high and low, and any POIs we want to trade from must align with these. So that's pretty much what has happened. I think now would be a good idea for me to illustrate what I'd like to happen if I want to take longs and then short. So for the purposes of taking longs, obviously I'll need the US news to be negative to then support trading long GU. And for me to actually consider those longs, I need price to actually ideally come deeper and then create a New York low of the day, and then create a new leg for which we can then target something around this area. But that doesn't necessarily need to happen. I also need ideally this news to support the direction, and then the secondary leg to hold. Obviously, if we validate a secondary leg from the pro trend unconfirmed, then this secondary leg becomes invalidated, which then means we either must reset the secondary leg and then create a new secondary leg, or alternatively the secondary leg must get extended. So there is scope for longs, but it's dependent on the actual US news release. The other issue I have with this is it's quite close to the end of the London cross, and being it a Friday, volatility may die out, so that's a concern for me. And then in terms of taking shorts for today, the only way I'm going to consider shorts is if price comes into this POI, then validates a secondary leg like this, aligns with this POI areas, the 38% level, and then I'll consider shorting, targeting this IRL, and perhaps ultimately the substructure low that sits right here. So those are my two considerations for actually taking trades during the New York session. Obviously, once we're in the New York session, then I'd be also focusing on ensuring that previous session liquidity is taken before I take or position myself into any trade. So there's this area right here and this area right here that is currently the London range. That's pretty much my outlook for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll chat again for the end of day review.